Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 10th, 2023 Mason City Council meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order and ask for the roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Here.
Councilmember Chance.
Here.
Councilmember Bradburn.
Present.
Councilmember Hackey.
Here.
Councilmember Grossman. Councilmember Stricula.
Here.
Mayor Spaeth.
Here. I'm going to ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. We're to item 4, which are the minutes from the June 12th council meeting. I need a motion to approve the minutes from that meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, item.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay, thank you. Item 5 is the city manager's report. Eric.
Trying to catch up. I do have a couple of items here. First of all, just want to once again emphasize the City of Mason's ranking as the 4th best place to live. Each month we are focusing on different activities in partnership with TriHealth to focus on how we're building a culture of wellness. For this month, the focus on social engagement and its importance to both individuals as well as community health. There are actually a number of events that I want to quickly go through with the city helps to promote community and social engagement. Music Mason concerts are growing in popularity, held in downtown Mason. Those occur each remaining Friday through the month of July, culminating with a Freedom Festival on Friday, July 28th to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the city's Veterans Memorial. But there's also the Dive-In movie event held at the Aquatic Center on Thursday, July 13th, 8:30 p.m., and a family late-night swim on Saturday, July 22nd from 7 to 10 p.m. There's also at the Community Center, we'll be hosting for Premier members a Bring a Friend for Free weekend, July 29th and 30th. The Golf Center, the Grizzly Golf and Social Lodge, is promoting events throughout the month, such as live music on the patio every Friday and Saturday evening, and last call trivia on Monday nights at the Grade 18 Bar and Grill. In addition to those offerings at City of Mason amenities, also promoting opportunities within the Mason small business community. Come Together Masonry gift cards. We are promoting those for purchase as a way to give gifts to neighbors or family, as well as support local merchants. There are now over 85 participating small businesses in that program, as well as promoting the city's Dora, which is a downtown outdoor refreshment area, which allows folks strolling through the downtown Mason area to enjoy beverages at the different businesses and as they are strolling through. Also wanted to emphasize a special opportunity that the city is having this year at the Grizzly Golf and Social Lodge from July 25th to July 27th. The lodge will be hosting the Ladies National Golf Association Amateur Championship. This is a historic opportunity. Hosting this event will bring 90 to 100 players from across the country competing in what is the 93rd Amateur Championship. There's a history here with the Golf Center, now the Golf and Social Lodge. Having been selected for this, they hosted the LPGA Championships from 78 to 89. Part of why they were selected is because the values and goals of the LNGA correspond with many of the objectives of the Grizzly Golf and Social Lodge in providing ways to grow women's golf. This is a great opportunity both for the Golf Center, for residents, as well as the players participating, and we hope that continues a growing relationship with the Ladies National Golf Association. That is all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eric. Item number 6, the Mason Mile update from the Maid CDC. You want to come forward, please, and state your name and your address?
Hello and good evening, Mayor, members of council, and staff. My name is Casey Richards, and I live at 216 Short Street. I'm a board member of the Mason Deerfield Community Development Corporation and an active volunteer within the Mason Mile Project Core team. I'm here this evening to share some exciting updates on the Mason Mile project. Just a reminder for everyone, the Mason Mile Project is a community-led, market-driven project in which we are honoring our history while building into the future a fresh, healthy, and sustainable place for people to live, work, and play. The Mason Mile Project core team has a team of volunteers that consists of myself, David Charpentier, Annie Droege, and Chris Heim, as well as administrative staff, that is Sherry Taylor and Sydney Hayes. And then our consulting team is Randy Gross from RGDE, Jay Becker from BLDG Brands, and Keith Covington from Common Ground Urban Design and Planning. In the month of June, the Project Advisory Council met and provided feedback on the brand strategy pathways, and we will be, And we will be reviewing visual brand concepts later in July as we defined a visual brand for the Mason Mile neighborhood. Key findings from the retail market analysis, consumer surveys, and placemaking are complete and are being uploaded to the project website. Over the coming weeks, or that will be done over the coming weeks, sorry. An update will also provide a general overview of how the project development concepts are being identified and tested with our stakeholders and our community. Planning has begun for a community workshop that we will be inviting community stakeholders to play a direct and hands-on role in redefining the development and placemaking concepts. The workshop will occur on August 9th from 6 to 8 p.m., and that location is still being determined. Anyone from the public is welcome and invited to attend. We greatly appreciate everyone's participation in that event. Communications are being initiated to ensure community awareness as well as participation through the Mason Mile Activator meeting, which will be next week. So if you would like to join us and help spread the word, please join us next Tuesday, July 18th at 6 p.m. at the American Legion. To stay informed on the workshop details, please join our Facebook group at Downtown Mason Mile Project or visit makethemile.com to sign up for emails to receive more information. Just wanted to finish by thanking everyone that has been involved thus far, and of course, always thank you to our council for partnering with us to make all of this happen. We are greatly honored to build on all of the great work that has been done over the many years and continue to move at the speed of trust. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Appreciate it. All right, on to item 7. We have Justin Vidox, who is the Urban Program Specialist from the Warren County Soil and Water District, is going to come forward and give us a presentation. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. So my name is Justin Vidox. I work for Warren County Soil and Water Conservation District. I have some invitations here to pass out for our Float the River event on July 21st coming up here soon. I have to apologize. I am a little short on invitations. You guys have a lot more council members than some of the other ones I've been to. So that's a good thing. I will either email the rest or I'll drop some more off. But the Float the River event it's a new initiative here in Warren County in 2023. Our neighboring county, Greene County, they've successfully hosted their leadership float the past 2 years with the assistance of Hope Taft, who's been helping us kind of plan this event. This is our first inaugural event of this. So this year in August marks the 50th anniversary that the Little Miami River became designated as a state and national scenic river. So to celebrate that event, we're going around to all of the different township trustee meetings, the public meetings for the areas that border the river. inviting local decision makers such as yourselves to come out and float the river with us, see all of the great natural, the great environmental benefits that it provides to local communities, local economies, providing habitat value to wildlife, flood control value, recreational value as well. So we're also gathering local and statewide experts to come in and speak at a luncheon after the river. So basically, we'll get on the river in the morning, we'll float for a couple hours, we'll stop halfway through the float. We'll have U.S. Fish and Wildlife will be performing a stream quality monitoring event, looking at invertebrates, macroinvertebrates, fish and things like that. We'll get back on the boats, finish the float, and we'll have a luncheon afterwards. It'll be a free lunch. All the equipment will be provided. You'll have the option to canoe or kayak. We'll have personal flotation devices. We'll have Aaron Shaw with ODNR giving a safety talk before. We have a couple people in our office that are licensed kayak instructors, so you guys will be safe. Hopefully nobody falls out. But if you do, the water won't be that deep, so we should be fine. We hope you guys can all come and join us. Just a couple fast facts on the river. The Little Miami River is 111 miles. It stretches through 5 counties. It's a tributary to the Ohio River. There's 87 species of fish, 36 species of mussels. Flows through nature preserves, state parks, cities, villages, townships. And it, like I mentioned earlier, provides all sorts of benefits that experts will be talking about during the luncheon. So if you don't feel comfortable doing the float, you can just do the float or just the luncheon or do the whole thing. There's our emails on that invitation, so you can RSVP to myself or to Molly Conley. If there's any questions.
Mayor, can I ask a quick question? Hi, thanks for coming in today. This is really interesting. I know that I will not be able to attend, but in some of the other leaders throughout the community who can't attend, are you going to be producing any kind of report or anything for us to read so we can understand what kind of issues you're facing, what are some of the solutions you're putting into place, just to kind of be aware of what's going on? Are you going to write up anything after?
I'm not sure if we haven't really discussed that yet. We could certainly think about doing that. We will have packets, handouts at the event, just different informational pamphlets and things like that about the river, different past threats to the river, some of the current threats it's facing with development, sediment runoff, running into it. That's the largest pollutant in the state of Ohio, according to EPA, is sediment-laden water from construction sites and just from natural runoff. But we will have some educational material along those lines. So.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, yes, okay.
Yeah, thanks again for coming out. I certainly enjoy the river both on the water and the bike path. So, where is Clint Foltz Park?
It's up by Waynesville. Yep, so we'll be in that kind of neck of the woods. That'll be the put in, and the takeout will be the Cedar Creek access.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it very much, Justin. Thank you very much. Okay, we're on to item 8, which is recognition of visitors, and Jeff Forbes, our law director, is going to review our council rules in regard to that.
Thank you, Mayor. I just thought it would be helpful to remind council, and since we have a lot of folks here tonight, of some recently adopted council rules. Comments to council are generally limited to 5 minutes. It is your opportunity to address council. It is not an opportunity for a back and forth during those 5 minutes. It's just your chance to address council. And the other thing that they asked me to point out is item 8, which we're at now, is recognition of visitors. If you are here and you would like to speak as part of the public hearing on the zone change that's on the agenda, that is actually item number 10. So we would ask that you hold your comments, instead of doing it during the recognition of visitors, do it during the actual public hearing for that item. Mayor?
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Would anyone like to come forward to the podium and address council at this point? Yes, Don, yes. Please come up, state your name and your address.
Good evening, Mace and Council, Mayor. My name is Don Williams. I live at 214 West Church Street in the Mason Mile. But I'm not here really for that, but it may associate with that. The reason that I wanted to just say something, and I hope you'll indulge me and maybe give me an extra minute if you will. I've got a little bit of history I'd like to give. It's not hopefully that boring and it won't take that much time, but maybe it'll help a few people who haven't lived here all that long. I have. First of all, I think it'd be interesting to see if anyone knows what the largest population growth percentage was that this town, city, has ever had. And I'm talking from a decade to a decade, specifically 1950 to 1960. The largest percentage in that time period ever in Mason was 295%. That's how much Mason grew in that 10-year period after the war. The population of Mason at that time was 1,196 people. In 1960, the population was 4,727. That's how much it had grown in that time period. The reason I mention this is a few things. Mason's had a lot of success in having various events, and just by what the city manager said, that we're, the fourth largest or best in the country. I can attest that because I'll tell you another quick story at the very end of this that happened this weekend. But Mason celebrated something in 1965. I don't know how many of you were here in 1965. It was the Mason Sesquicentennial. And it was a one-week event, and we had a population of less than 5,000. We were not a city, we were still a village. And it was one of the greatest events I've ever attended because it was almost put together by everybody in the city, or in the village, I should say. It was something that everybody took a part in, and it was something that just was unbelievable to have experienced. But in 1965, in that time period from 65, 66, 67, nothing happened. It was quiet in Mason. And then in 1968, the Mason Area Chamber of Commerce, which had just been getting formed, put together what is now, or what was then known as the Mason Community Unity Days. That was the first one. And again, we didn't have a population of 5,000. It was a 3-day event, 3 days. And there was a lot of participation, and everything was planned in those 3 days. It was a great event. It really went over very, very well. And I have a booklet here of that particular time period. The mayor of Mason was George Wilson, Jr., and the two co-chairmen were Maurice Umble and Joe Van Offlen. The committee chairmen were Pat D'Angelo, Alan Gorsuch, Ora Johnson, Donna Beavers, Trudy Sherman, and Kay Steinhauer. Unfortunately, they're all gone. They've left us. But they did a wonderful job, believe me. 67 small and large businesses helped sponsor this event. 22 civic and service organizations, plus the Mason Volunteer Fire Department, helped in providing this. Still, less than 5,000 in population, still a village, not a city. Go 55 years later, we are now a city. The population of Mason now, from what I saw when I looked today, was slightly over 36,000. 36,000. Hopefully, we have a Heritage Day. It's 55 years old if we do, and that's a remarkable time period to have each day, each year. We have had Heritage Day. It started with Community Unity, went to Bicycles Day, which maybe lasted a couple of years, and then went to Heritage Days. And that's what we celebrate each year. And last year it was really great because it came back to Up in Town. And that really spurred it on again. But 36,000 people in this town should be able to put together one heck of a Heritage Day. If less than 5,000 can put together Mason Sesquicentennial and the Mason, or the Community Unity Days, then at least we ought to be able to put together one heck of a situation to really enjoy. The other thing I wanted to mention was we have another celebration. August 17th, 2008, the plaza in downtown Mason was dedicated 15 years ago. It doesn't seem like it. I remember it very distinctly because I was a part of the committee that helped to get the plaza. Some people don't like it, some people do, but it does provide with things, just like they were mentioning about the music and everything else that can go on within the city itself. But those are two things that I wanted to mention. But the big thing I wanted to mention was over this past weekend, my wife and I, for the last 7 to 8 months, have been preparing for a group of people, a family of 25 people that were coming in to see us because of where we live. And we live at 214 West Church, which is one of the oldest buildings in Mason. It's 113 years old. And this family's great-grandfather built the house in 1910. And they wanted to come back and see the house because they had such an attachment to it that they felt that they wanted to see it at least one more time. And we worked it out with a lot of work, believe me, because these people came from California, Oregon, Massachusetts, Minnesota, New Jersey, and some that are still in Ohio. They came in specially to see Mason, but also to come and see the house that they knew so well. It was a wonderful meeting with this family. It was the Thompson family, and their great-grandfather, J. Lee Thompson, built the house, and one of the sons had a hardware store in Mason called the Thompson Hardware and Western Auto Store, and he had it for many years, and his son was there, along with his daughter, who lives in Oregon, by the way. But what I wanted to say was this. These people knew about Mason, of course, but they also said that they have talked with people who knew of Mason, Ohio, from where they live. Now, that's remarkable when you think of where I told you that some of them live. Our grandson came in from Michigan, and his mother, our daughter, came up from Florida to help us. Our grandson told us that he has talked to people in Michigan that know of Mason, Ohio. Mason, Ohio is more well known than you might think. It is very well known. I was told of various stories of people mentioning Mason and how nice Mason was and what it represented and all that it had to offer. And boy, we have nothing to be ashamed of at all. We have one heck of a town. And I just want to let everybody know that after just what little I read there of what we celebrate, it's really Mason in general. Because you can't ask for something better than what we have. And that's these people that I talked to from all different parts of the country were just amazed at what Mason had. And they've driven around and wanted to see the whole town. And they were just astounded with how much it had grown. One man that came had not been here in 75 years. And he stayed at the house where we live for a number of years while he was growing up. And he said he couldn't believe how well Mason has grown and what it has got to offer right now. So I think that we have nothing to be ashamed of,
Mr. Williams,
one bit.
I'm really sorry.
Okay.
The allotted time.
I'm more than happy to leave on that note, but just to thank everyone for what we have got in this city. Thank you.
Don, I want to say, Don, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to give us that history, because it actually brings a lot of memories back for me. Probably you and I were the only ones that were at that original festival back in 1965, and I remember it well. It was so much fun. And I just want to say this. One of the fun things is everyone dressed up, and what era was that? That wasn't colonial. What was it? The clothes our mothers made our outfits, and we all dressed up like we were back in the frontier days or whatever. Even the guys would wear, like, I remember my brother had on my sister's outfit as a joke, but it was funny. And the guys, they all grew long beards, just like it was back then. There was just a lot of fun things like that. So I loved hearing that history. So thank you so much. And there is going to be a Heritage Festival. What is the date? September 17th. There will be a Heritage Festival again this year. Thank you, Don. Okay, anybody else want to come up? Yes, please come up to the podium and state your name and your address, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Jurian Masawai. I live at 4842 Tillinghast Court, and I have a concern tonight. It's the new right turn lane at the Snyder and Tylersville intersection going southbound. During heavy rain showers, the right two lanes flood, and it is very hard to, especially the first time, it's very hard to predict how deep that water is. So I think it's a safety concern that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. And yeah, I drove through it, and it was a lot of water, so I think it needs to be needs to be addressed, especially for it being a new road. So, and that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you for bringing that to our attention. And I just got told the festival is actually September 16th, not the 17th. Just want to make sure everybody gets that. Anybody else want to come to the podium, please? Okay. We will move on to item 9, which is Resolution 2023-20. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Recognizing July as National Parks and Recreation Month.
Okay, Jennifer?
Well, first of all, I have to cut Mr. Williams off, and then I have to follow him, But we are going to celebrate, this resolution does recognize our Parks and Recreation Department for all they do in building our culture of wellness here in the community. At the heart of a lot of the program and the events and activities that they do run is the Mason Community Center that offers something for all ages within our community. We also have the Aquatic Center, the 50-meter enclosed pool. We have 17 miles of bike paths, and probably the most notable one is the connection to the Little Miami bike trail. That's one of the largest bike trail systems in the state of Ohio and probably the region. Just so much to offer when it comes to our recreation program for our residents here. And we have a great staff that is at the heart and at the center of that. But I think what we really offer that's different and unique than maybe other communities, and that's our very diverse and all-inclusive programming. And at the center of that is McKeno Park. And that has been the model for how we move forward with other parks in our community, being inclusive to all those of all ages within our community. Even our dog park, which we opened last year, the committee that helped oversee that kept inclusivity in mind and built that so that it's wheelchair accessible for even our furry friends and their friends. So just want to celebrate all of the staff that do the programming and offer all the events and activities here in our community. They do such a wonderful job, and they do it with such respects and compassion, and keeping in mind that we really want to create an opportunity for all. So with that, Resolution 2023-20 is recommended for adoption. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, I need a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Okay, items 10 and 11, we have the ordinance 2023-56. We have the public hearing and the second reading. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff.
Amending the zoning code and zoning map of the City of Mason, Ohio to provide for the rezoning of approximately 15.1976 acres from R2 Single Family Residential to Residential PUD Residential Planned Unit Development with approval of the Concept Planned Unit Development Plan located east of Manor House and the Mosaic PUD south of Alverta and north of White Blossom O&E PUD.
Okay, thank you. And I take it, Jordy, or you?
Just wanted to give a quick synopsis of how we got to where we are today. The developer submitted a proposal for this property back in January. Staff reviewed that in accordance with our codes, and then obviously Planning Commission takes that into consideration, makes a recommendation to council. There was actually 3 public hearings at Planning Commission starting in February. Then there was a resubmittal of the plan in May, and then again in June there was the 3rd public hearing. Lots of discussion at all 3 of those public hearings, basically focusing on lot size, density of the development, and traffic. That was ultimately recommended for approval by Planning Commission in June, and then I'll let Jordy Bacon, our planner, give some additional detail on the plan and take it from here.
Thanks, Kurt. So as he mentioned, this is a proposed concept plan and rezoning. So I've done the best to sort of outline this on the various maps and codes that we reviewed on staff level. So first here, this is our zoning map. The red box is approximately around the property in question. So you'll see it's surrounded by residential, some industrial and office to the west, and then commercial will be northeast with that Mosaic PUD. And as Jeff and Kurt mentioned, the developer is proposing to rezone it, zoned R2 right now, to a residential planned unit development. This is the city's thoroughfare plan. So any project that is developed in the city of Mason needs to meet the requirements of our thoroughfare plan. If they are not going to do that, they need a variance from the thoroughfare plan. So I'll show you the project in a moment, but as you'll see, there's a proposed primary collector road through this development. The recommendation from Planning Commission does not have that road in it. So if you were to approve this tonight, that variance from the thoroughfare plan would be part of that approval. So we can talk more about that, but something to sort of keep in mind as you're reviewing the plan. And then this is the Mason Comprehensive Plan. So the zoning code and the thoroughfare plan are the law of the city. The comprehensive plan is a recommendation document. It sort of guides the vision and future for development in Mason. So again, approximately the red box is the property we're looking at. So to the north, you'll see it calls for medium intensity residential. That's 4 to 5 units per acre and 20% open space. And to the south, it calls for low intensity residential, which is 1 to 3 units per acre and 30% open space. So with all of that in mind, this is the project that came to Planning Commission in June from the developer. So it's a total of 45 units with a density of 2.96 units per acre. So that overall density is less than what is being called for in the comprehensive plan. Normally, when we look at a project, we look at the density for the whole development. Because the comp plan split it up, we have also sort of split it up for you, and that was part of the discussion throughout Planning Commission. So Pod A is to the north. That's that medium intensity residential, and it's 3.97 units per acre. Pod B is to the south. That's that low intensity residential, and it's 2.25 units per acre. The project has just over 20% open space, which does meet the PUD requirements. So one of the big discussion items, like Kurt mentioned, was traffic and connectivity. And residents were concerned about seeing traffic and connectivity between Alberta and White Blossom. They were worried about added traffic in their neighborhood. So Planning Commission ultimately, when they recommended approval on the condition that that connection between Pod A and Pod B be removed. They would like to see some sort of bike or pedestrian connection maintained, but no traffic and road connection. So staff is recommending adoption of ordinance 2023-56 tonight, but with that Planning Commission condition where there are no road connectivity between Pod A and Pod B. And I'm available for any questions.
All right, thank you, Jordy. I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:34 p.m. and ask if there's anyone who would like to come forward to the podium to speak to this. If you would, please come forward and state your name and address.
My name is John Terreri. I live at 4547 Wesley Court in the White Blossom neighborhood. And as it's depicted here is consistent with, I think, what was agreed to at the last Planning Commission. The one concern I want to bring up that was a discussion point among the residents of White Blossom is that with respect to the walking path or bike trail between the two pods, that language be incorporated to make sure that that is permanent and cannot be at a later date opened up for vehicle traffic. And that's my only point. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else would like to come forward? Okay, please state your name and address for us.
Hi, my name is Jan Wilson. I live at 4711 Veterans Parkway in Alberta. And, excuse me, at the other meetings, they said that if we had any questions, that we should save them for now, that we weren't allowed to address those questions at the time. So I just have some questions. I know you can't answer them right now, but these are questions that we would have as this project goes forth. One is, will there be an HOA? Because to keep up with the standards of our neighborhood, we have regulations to keep our subdivision well-kept and expect the same for them. And they have a park in between. We're wondering who's going to maintain that park. We also know that Mosaics shares in our homeowners association to maintain the islands on Freedom Way and also on Veterans Parkway. And we're wondering if they do have, hopefully, a homeowners association, if they'll also be sharing in the cost of maintaining those islands since they'll be using them on a daily basis. Our other question was, who owns and controls the buffer zones? And can they remove the trees at a later date? This has been our question since day one. There seems to be, Alberta has a 40-foot buffer and White Blossom has a 100-foot buffer, and we've never gotten an answer of why that is. And also we know that between the Mosaics and Alberta, there's a 50-foot buffer. So that's our question, and we're obviously, everyone here is concerned with the trees that go around the entire property, and who has control of those, and those can they stay, and will they be controlled in the future? So those are our questions, and hopefully we can get answers on that, and thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to come forward, please? Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thanks for hearing our voices. I live at...
Your name and address, please.
Eva Mae Lloyd. I live at 7333 Red Oak Court in the landing of Oakwood Lakes. I have lived there 13 years and been on the board for 10. All this time, we were told there would be another exit in and out of our unit. We have 185 condos that are in our association, but we only have one way in and out through another area. We would like to see if at this time there was any way we could get an exit in and out of the landing of Oakwood Lakes.
Okay, thank you. I think that probably our engineer department can get with you later and talk with you about that. Would anyone like to come forward, please?
Good evening, Mayor, Councilmen, and women. My name is Dr. George Nafziger. I live at 7340 Red Oak Court, and I would like to echo Eva's comments and add some issues. We have just one exit, as she mentioned, and when you come out to Post Oak to turn on to Western Row, going right and going east is no problem, but going left is a major problem. There is a rise to the east, and you have one of your median strips with the plantings in it that are rather high. More than once, I've come out of there, not seen a car coming from east to west, and suddenly found myself being run down, if you would, by another vehicle. In one instance, the man was driving so fast that I punched it, and I was going 60 miles an hour, and he blew by me like I was parked. People don't pay any attention to the speed limit on that road. I have spoken to the police about it, and I understand that their manning is such that they don't have the capability to put up speed traps and otherwise control that. So we have a very serious possibility of a very serious accident when somebody will come down Western Row, and I guarantee the man was going at least 80. He was late for work. It was about 7:45. And so far, we're lucky that nobody's been killed. I would also like to add that the current exit has had 4 speed bumps put into it that further restricts movement through that area, and another access would mitigate the traffic problems and the movement issues in ingress and egress. So between the safety issues and the ability or inability or difficulty of emergency vehicles getting in, a second access would be highly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else like to come forward, please?
My name is Robert Dunkey Jacobs. I'm at 4600 Wesley Court in the White Blossom subdivision. This has been a really contentious zoning issue. And even though there's been 3 meetings, many of the residents of all of the subdivisions feel like this has not been fully baked. We also realized recently that so many details of how this plan comes together have been swept under the rug. We'll deal with that later. We don't do traffic planning. We don't do sewer planning. We don't do this planning. We don't do that planning. First, we have to approve it. That's wrong. That is absolutely wrong. This is a project, and it needs to be fully baked before it is taken to the oven. This plan right here that you see, the developer himself in the last meeting said that a sense of community was required between Pod A and Pod B, which is why they had put a road in there. At the last minute, in order to get Planning Commission to accept the proposal and move it to the council, he came up to this very podium and said, okay, we won't put a road in. And then it passed. That road makes a whole lot more sense than a bike path, but to the residents of Pod A and Pod B, doesn't make a whole lot of sense or joy to the rest of us, but it does make sense to them. Let me point out the swept under the rug. Where are the construction vehicles going to come in and out of when they build Pod A? and when they build Pod B. Can you tell me where the dump trucks are going to come, where the cement mixers are going to go, where the utility vehicles are going to go to put in all of the utilities, where the bulldozers are going to go? Half of them are going to be at the north side, and half of them at the south side, and unless they're willing to tear up all that nice green space, there's no way to get back and forth between the two. So if I'm a contractor and I'm looking at this, I'm not real happy. And if I'm a resident of Wesley Court and of Cedar Village Drive, I'm not happy either, because where are all those construction workers going to park? Where are they going to put their construction vehicles when they're not using them on the weekends? They're going to put them in our development. That doesn't seem fair to the residents, does it? So as I said, the process is broken. All of these details should be worked out before authorization is given to start construction. Next point. At the last meeting, we were not clear about whether the financial way was going to happen, because that was given as an optional exit point that wasn't really open to us because it hadn't been approved or whatever, I don't know. But now I'm going up and I'm seeing, oh, look, they're ripping out medians and financial way is approved. They've actually let the contracts and people are building. So they knew that back in February, March. So I'm just looking for transparency. I'm looking for a process that we can all trust and know that everything is being done to the benefit of the residents and not to the development companies. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to come forward, please? Yes.
My name is Mallory Compton. I live at 7667 Lilac Vista Drive in Mason, in White Blossom neighborhood. This is very uncomfortable for me, out of my element, but this is very important, so that's why I'm getting up to speak. I don't understand from a higher level when you don't have a single resident in Alberta and you don't have a single resident in White Blossom that wants the street to be opened. There is an alternative road that this gentleman was mentioning. Why are our neighborhoods being brought into opening a road? Living in White Blossom for the last 17 years, we moved in, I understand there was a golf course and things get developed and things move around. The White Blossom neighborhood has had to come to city council multiple times to not open the neighborhood. It has been there since 1997. It is a very sweet, tranquil neighborhood. We love the Alberta residents just behind us. I love seeing the families come cut through our neighborhood, walking, not cars, to go to UDF to get ice cream. We, on the flip side, cut through the back of their neighborhood. They've got a little circle path. I don't understand we're not leaving these two neighborhoods alone and finding another route to take. They have done a great job as developers trying to come with very many plans. I understand you've got logistics and laws and collectors, and we clearly know laws can be changed. In our Supreme Court, laws are being changed. So let's avoid disrupting neighborhoods that are happy, that live in a city, when there's a small piece of land with another development that's already been approved that's already going to create traffic. White Blossom has absorbed so much traffic by having 3 entrances and 3 exits as is. There are constantly accidents on the intersection that we've been mentioning this entire time. Why would you flood it more? I just don't understand. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to come up, please?
Thanks, Council. My name is Ken Veluska. I'm at 7362 Middleton, which you can see in the Alberta. It's right up there on the far right in the middle. Mostly my concerns have been echoed here tonight. Living in Alberta, we aren't giant fans of this happening, but I don't think we have much of a vote. But my concerns would be just in that park area in the bottom right of that picture, I've got a 3-year-old and a 2-year-old son, and we frequent that park a lot, and we live close enough where we're able to see them play in that, from our home. I'd be worried about, just as that construction's happening, what precautions are taking place to make sure that that park's not being disrupted or that there's not any additional risk of people going to that. And I believe someone else asked this, but just, is that going to be uninterrupted by the vehicles that are being parked or any of the work that's taking place at that new neighborhood being built? So, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to come forward, please? Yes.
Hi, my name is Eric Stevens, and my family and I have lived at 4628 Cedar Village Drive for just under 23 years now. So I wanted to reiterate that based upon public feedback at the June 6th Planning Commission meeting, that the developer did volunteer to remove any public or private through road connection between White Blossom and Alberta from the concept plan, and an example of how to do that is represented there. And the Planning Commission did indeed vote to recommend approval of the concept plan and rezoning subject to that condition. I wanted to state it is absolutely essential that if the rezoning is approved, that the final plan carry forward that restriction and that no through road be allowed to be created at any time in the future for vehicular traffic. We talked about bike paths and walking connections. My neighbors and I generally think that that is a great idea. For example, just looking out the front windows of our house on a daily basis out to Cedar Village Drive, there are lots of adults as well as children who use that area for cycling. Creating any sort of a through road there would increase the hazards significantly and lead to more dangerous conditions and discourage cycling in this area. On the other hand, some sort of a bike connection between Cedar Village Drive to the south and Gruber Drive to the north, that would connect White Blossom, Alberta, and the O&E Western Row development with bike paths to Western Row and to Socialville Foster, and then on to the entire system of Mason bike paths in a safe manner. So there was discussion about traffic between the neighborhoods, but it's really much more than that, because creating a through road here creates lots of cut-through opportunities for non-resident traffic. For example, from Socialville Foster to the south, through White Blossom, the O&E Western Row subdivision, and Alberta to the Mosaic PUD around the traffic circle there. Also from Socialville Foster to the south side, all the way up through to Western Row on the north side. So we really want to avoid having that kind of non-resident mixed traffic and the hazards that it can lead to. We talked about emergency vehicle access, and currently Alberta has one access point from the north off of Western Row via Freedom Way. But there are quite a few neighborhoods in Mason that only have one access point. Oakwood Lakes was discussed this evening, and other examples of neighborhoods along just Western Row that also have only one access point are Mason Fields, across from Oakwood Lakes, Western Estates, and Mason Christian Village. So in terms of emergency response times, I would expect response times to the proposed subdivision to be similar to those other neighborhoods. However, with the completion of Veterans Parkway from the west to the traffic circle shown at the top, to Freedom Way there, Alberta would then have 2 points of access from major or minor arterial roadways. And White Blossom, as we mentioned, already has 3 access points for major arterial roadways, Socialville Foster and Mason Montgomery Road. So regardless of how homes in this proposed subdivision are accessed, whether it's through Alberta from the north or up Cedar Village Drive from the south, there would be a minimum of 2 access points and possibly 3 from major or minor arterial roadways. And that is without creating a connection, a through connection between them. So thank you for your time, and I would just strongly urge the council to prohibit creation of these cut-through type roads. They, again, can pose a significant hazard, as evidenced by the recent accident along White Blossom Boulevard, at the entrance to White Blossom, along Mason Montgomery Road, where a good portion of the entrance structure was knocked down recently. So I would ask that the council would please carry forward this stipulation that was recommended by the Planning Commission and volunteered by the developer to promote our culture of wellness through bike paths and to maintain the character of the neighborhoods that we really seek in the city of Mason. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else like to come forward? I know the developers here, did you have anything else you wanted to add, or? Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't see you. Is that a yes or no? Okay. Okay, so I just asked one more time. Anyone else want to come up before I close the public hearing? Yes, sir.
My name is Jerry Lloyd. I live at 733 Red Oak Court in Land of Oakwood Lakes. We've been talking a lot tonight about traffic access to the various parts of the neighborhood in this general part of Mason. We know now that there are 2 access plans for Alberta. Other neighborhoods have 3. But we're a neighborhood in LOL of 182 families. We are at the back of another neighborhood that has about 80 residents. There is 1 access road currently from Westport Road, from Western Road back to the back of our neighborhood. It seems to me that it's very interesting that we could extend from the back of Land of Oakwood Lakes to the Alberta neighborhood a short strip of roadway there that would provide us and the 182 people of us another access, so that like Alberta, which has 2, and some of these other neighborhoods that have 3, our group has just 1 access. And I would request that you consider a way to connect our area into Alberta so that we can get in and out of the back part of the neighborhood where we are. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay. If that's it, I'm going to close the public hearing at 7:58 p.m. And I'm going to ask for a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second? Okay. Before I ask first for council discussion, I just want to ask Kurt or Jordy, do you want to maybe answer some of these questions and maybe talk about what the process is about here? We're voting just on zoning tonight, so can you explain a little bit some of these questions or answer, I'm sorry, some of these questions before we have council discussion?
Yeah, I'll start, and Kurt can jump in if I miss anything. So this is a concept plan. The way a PUD works is the concept plan truly is just that. It's a concept. Is the vision of the project palatable to Planning Commission and Council? If the concept is approved, then the final development plan stage starts, and I think that's what most people think of when they think of a site plan. That's when we look at traffic, we look at sewer, we look at stormwater, we hammer in on what those setbacks will be, where the buildings will be located, building materials. And then the other unique thing about a PUD is that part of the process is drafting a document called covenants and restrictions, and those act almost as a mini zoning code just for that development. So if there are unique specific concerns to one project, say for example, maintaining only a pedestrian or bike connection, those can be codified in those covenants and restrictions. So it allows you the opportunity to really create your own zoning. So if this concept plan was to be recommended for approval, the final development plan needs to meet the approval of council tonight, which would be with that variance from the thoroughfare plan and would be with that condition that there be no roadway connection. So the final development plan, that traffic, when we're looking at traffic, when we're looking at all of those things, would have to meet that, and then the covenants and restrictions would reflect that as well. So this is just the first step in the planning process. In terms of if there would be an HOA, that's something that the developer decides on their own. Whether or not there is an HOA doesn't change the layout of the site or the zoning of the site, so that's not something we're looking at now. I'm trying to think of the other ones that were done. In terms of construction, they will submit their site construction drawings to our engineering department. They will have pre-construction meetings with our engineering department, and all of that will get hammered out later on in the process. This is just, is this general concept something that the city is willing to move forward with? I think that was it. Are there anything else you'd like me to touch on?
I was just going to add, one resident brought up maintenance of the park. That's the type of thing that could also be incorporated in the covenants and restrictions to make sure that this development is responsible for long-term maintenance of that park, be part of it. So that's another type of thing that could be in the covenants and restrictions. So. And then, Mayor, I don't know if you want me to talk about the connection to Oakwood Lakes. That came up several times as well. That actually came up during the Alberta. From my recollection, that came up during the Alberta development, which is in between Oakwood Lakes and this proposed development. So it really doesn't have anything to do with this development. However, I do recall staff strongly encouraging Oakwood Lakes at that time to make a connection, and they didn't want it at that time. It sounds like there's some new residents that maybe are now seeing the benefit of that second entrance, but we very strongly recommended that entrance at that time. And so now that, the ship has kind of sailed because the Alberta development is done, so unfortunately.
Okay, thank you, Jordy. Thank you, Kurt. I will now ask for council discussion. Does anybody have any comments that they want to make? Okay, I just want to add this. Councilmember Hackey and I both serve on the Planning Commission, so we have had a lot of this information already vetted out during those. The developer came back 3 times, and as was stated, there was public hearings then, so people had opportunity to talk about what they wanted. And the developer has been really great about getting the density down so that it's within the regulations. And then also there was the back and forth about whether there would be that connection between what was being called Pod A and Pod B. And just at that last meeting, where this was being discussed, the developer actually got up during the meeting and he said, "I'll take that out." And so he's been trying to listen to what the residents want. He listened to what we as Planning Commission members recommended. And I think probably this is, as far as a concept, probably the best solution that we have, or the best concept that he could have came up with. But again, I want everyone to understand there will be more things come back for discussion, right? And before council when we get to that point. Right now, we're just voting whether or not we're going to approve the zoning so that this can possibly happen. So what I'm trying to say is you guys still have opportunity to voice.
It would come back to Planning Commission. Council wouldn't see the final development plan.
Okay, it'll come back to
Yeah.
Planning Commission, okay? So if there's anyone out there that feel like they haven't been getting notice of planning commission meetings, please let our staff know so that we can make sure that you can come back to those meetings and voice your concerns. I know that was something that was brought up at some of the planning commission meetings, that some people weren't getting notified. So with that, does anybody else want to make any other comments? Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I just want to echo your comments on the developer and the cooperation we got from them. I know this is kind of a tough issue for a lot of people, and it's not perfect, but the developer has worked really hard, and I felt, bringing the density down to where it made sense, and agreeing to not have this connector in there. I just want to say thank you. And again, like has been said, this isn't done. There's still a lot more to go on, and I know some people don't like the process, but there's a reason for the process, and you're going to see it vet out as we go through this. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Excuse me, anybody else?
Mayor, just
Yes.
quick question for clarification from me. So we are passing this, passes with the restrictions that it is not a roadway, but only a bike path. Is that correct?
Correct, there would be no roadway.
No roadway.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, Jordan, you want to say something?
Yeah, just to echo that. So yeah, if you were to approve this as written in the ordinance, the condition would be no roadway. Also, again, it would be a variance from the thoroughfare plan. The thoroughfare plan calls for that primary collector. This project doesn't include that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, with that, I'm going to ask for roll call.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spate?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. On to item 12, ordinance 2023-57. This is a second reading. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Adopting the revision, codification, recodification, rearrangement, and publication of the ordinances and resolutions of the City of Mason in book form for the current supplement.
Okay, Jennifer?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, this is really a housekeeping item that we do on an annual basis. So at the end of the year, the city works on all the ordinances that were passed that year and works them into our codified ordinances, working with legal counsel. If there is any state law changes, those get updated as part of our codified. Generally, it's the fee schedule that is a critical piece of this as well. And if you recall that on an annual basis, all fees are adjusted by any COLA increase that is approved by council. And so the fee schedule as part of the codification needs updated as well. There are three major pieces of legislation that were approved last year. I just want to remind everybody that will get incorporated into this codification. And that includes ordinance 2023-80, I lost myself. 2022-82, which is amending Chapter 133.05, and basically that adjusts the purchasing power for the city manager to align with other communities and the Ohio Revised Code, and that moved it to $50,000. Ordinance 2023-85 repeals Chapter 125, and Ordinance 2023-42 amended Chapter 122, which were updates to reflect current law and practices, as well as establishing best practices for City Mason's elected officials and a City Mason Council Code of Conduct. With that, ordinance 2023-57 is recommended for adoption. Again, it's just a housekeeping item that we do on an annual basis. I am happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. I need a motion to adopt, please.
So moved.
Second.
Any council discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spate?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Okay, item 13, ordinance 2023-62. This is just a first reading. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff.
Approving the continued operation of a designated outdoor refreshment area and establishing requirements to ensure public health and safety within such area.
Okay, Eric?
Yes.
We'd like to ask council to set a public hearing for August 14th, when we'll hold the second reading and consideration.
All right, thank you. Item 14, ordinance 2023-63. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
Second?
All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Stauffer Site Solutions LLC in an amount not to exceed $85,585 for the US 42 Reading Road Flooding Improvement Project.
Okay, Kurt?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is a project on US 42 or Reading Road between Tylersville and Fifth Avenue. Primarily, it's across the street from the St. Susanna area. When we get heavy rains, this is an area where our crews have to put out heavy water, high water signs because it begins to flood just because of the lack of infrastructure out there. So we did a small design on it. I think there's around 300 feet of storm pipe and several catch basins that would be installed with this project. Stauffer was the lowest price that we got, and they've done several projects for us in the city, including most recently they did the sanitary sewer on Mason Morrow Millgrove Road there in front of the salt barn. We anticipate construction beginning this fall and completed by the end of the year, and we don't think it'll impact traffic at all. We can maintain traffic, 2 lanes of traffic through that area as well. So with that ordinance 2023-63 for just over $85,000 to Stauffer Site Services is recommended.
Okay, thank you. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any council discussion? Yes. Councilmember
In
Bradley.
the ordinance, it says reduce the frequency. Why is not eliminated in there?
Well, we never say eliminate because generally our storm sewers are generally constructed for about a 10-year storm event, and then over that you'll start to see some headwater. Generally, we try to not to overly complicate it. We check the hydraulic grade line for the 25 and 50-year events, which means that the water is starting to build some head on it and get more flow through the pipe. But it won't do every event, but it'll be much better.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, roll call, please.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spath?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Okay, item 15, ordinance 2023-64. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
Moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Locution Systems for the purchase of equipment for the automated voice dispatch and fire station alerting project in an amount not to exceed $87,000.
Okay, Jennifer?
Yes, Mayor, members of council, the city is always seeking ways to improve safety services for our residents, whether that's creating long-term strategic plans to guide future operations, or looking for some everyday tools and equipment that protect and improve the effectiveness and efficiency of operations. For police and fire, response times count. Every second counts. Every second counts. In 2015, the city upgraded our emergency traffic preemption system to a GPS-based system. This system helps clear intersections for our safety services department and allows emergency vehicles to obtain a green light as they near an intersection. In 2020, a new CAD system was installed at the Warren County Communications Center. The new CAD system includes an automated vehicle location technology, which allows dispatchers to send the closest appropriate response vehicle to the emergency based on GPS technology. For the fire department, response times consist of call processing time, turnout time, and travel time. Decreasing the length of any of these times greatly improves the effectiveness of the department. The updated traffic preemption system, along with the CAD system, significantly improves safety and travel time. Warren County provides dispatching services for the city's police and fire departments. After several years of research, the County Fire Chiefs Association recommended the purchase of an automated voice dispatch and fire station alerting system. Warren County agreed to provide funding for the components needed to upgrade the communications center and individual jurisdictions within the county agree to fund improvements to their own fire stations. When a caller dials 911 for emergency help, an individual call taker speaks to the caller following predetermined protocols for capturing specific information needed to dispatch a call. That information is captured into the CAD system, and then that system gives a recommendation to the dispatcher, who then has to alert the appropriate police, fire, EMS units. With the new automated voice dispatch system, the information received by the call taker is captured into an automated system. The call taker simply clicks a button, which dispatches the information via an automated voice system. This increases the speed and efficiency in the dispatch process, reducing call processing time and discrepancies between the call taker and the call dispatcher. Equipment for the communications center has been installed, and the automated voice dispatch system is currently in the testing process. It is now time for the individual jurisdictions serviced by the communications center to upgrade their fire stations and facilities. One of the first phases of upgrading the system in our firehouses has been the installation of video screens that provide a visual of the incoming dispatched call. Next, we need to upgrade the firehouse radio and speaker system so it'll coordinate it with the automated voice dispatching system. Additional improvements include new lights that serve as visual cues to our personnel for the type of incoming calls so that the resources can begin to respond even before the automated call has been completed. For instance, red flashing lights indicate an incoming fire response call, and fire crews can automatically begin their process to get into their turn gear and get on the equipment. Blue lights may indicate EMS incoming call. Once crews reach their appropriate vehicle, there's a screen within each vehicle that will display the automated dispatch information. Clocks are also included as part of these upgrades in the fire stations. These will be installed in key areas throughout each station and serve as another visual reminder for our personnel that they have 1 minute of establishing our goal of 1 minute of turnout time. Finally, the system also offers improved alert system within each sleeping quarter area that provides less offensive tone options and has the ability to segregate calls between fire and EMS, helping reduce interruptions of sleep patterns that can have an impact on the health and well-being of fire EMS personnel. For instance, there could be a different tone if it's an EMS call versus if it's a fire call. So those resources that are allocated to EMS will respond, and those allocated to fire can remain in the sleeping quarters. Staff are recommending ordinance 2023-64, authorizing a contract in the amount of $87,000 with Locution Systems as the equipment provider for this project. Mobilecom will be providing the installation at an estimated cost of $32,000 for a total project cost of $119,000. There is no legislation needed for Mobilecom as it is less than the threshold required for council action. The 2023 budget includes $120,000 for this project. This project was slated for 2022. Unfortunately, due to what the Warren County Communications Center was doing at the time, there was a delay there in getting the RFPs out and quotes and stuff needed to move this project forward. So that amount was carried forward into the 23 budget. With that, ordinance 2023-64 is recommended for adoption. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thanks. Thank you, Jennifer. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt.
Moved.
Okay, any council discussion?
Mayor, I have heard some of the testing over they are doing it. It sounds pretty good. I heard some earlier testing of other jurisdictions, and that was pretty garbled, but it's quite clear coming over my phone when I'm tapped into the county dispatch system. So I guess we've got to get our stations up to snuff with what they need, and we'll continue to rock and roll. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, roll call, please.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Okay, item 16, ordinance 2023-65. A motion to read by title only, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Authorizing the city manager to engage the Southwest Ohio Philharmonic for the performance of a concert in an amount not to exceed $36,500.
Okay, Eric?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. For several years now, unfortunately interrupted by COVID, the city has been advancing its efforts to promote arts programming as another amenity within the city. That is primarily done through partnerships with a variety of arts organizations within the community. Perhaps a benchmark of these efforts is in 2019, when the city first worked with the Southwest Ohio Philharmonic, or otherwise known as SWAP, to provide an orchestra concert that was done in partnership with Great Wolf Lodge at the time, so that during the winter months, a concert was hosted at Great Wolf Lodge. Based on that event's success, post-COVID, the city then partnered with SWAP to host a concert during the summer, an outdoor concert on the lawn just outside of the Municipal Center here, featuring a Star Wars and Beyond theme, focused on John Williams. I'm sorry, John Williams. So it was Star Wars, E.T., Harry Potter, Jaws, all the great movies. That was formatted for a family-friendly audience, was very well received by those in attendance, and lent to the momentum and the interest of the Arts and Culture Committee of Council to continue looking for opportunities to partner. This year, SWAP approached the city with a proposal for a patriotic concert that was aligning with the city's celebration this year of the 20th anniversary of the Mason Veterans Memorial throughout the year. SWAP put together a couple of proposals. The Arts and Culture Committee of Council had an opportunity to visit each of those, ultimately recommending that we pursue an option for September 29th outdoor concert that would be an all-in cost of $36,500. What that means is that would pay for both the orchestra itself, as well as what is often difficulty with these events, the stage, the sound, the lighting. All the extra costs would be bundled into that expense. Based on the activity levels on that day, excuse me, the proposal is to locate the event in Corwin-Nixon Park instead of on the lawn out here. To go behind the school, would use the new aquatic center to provide some of the support necessary for the orchestra. We would again be utilizing the instant command structure that we utilize on all of these type of events to help utilize staff, provide the support necessary for the event, as well as to gain additional practice as an emergency incident. The Arts and Culture Committee was able to review this proposal and felt that this was in keeping with the trend of promoting arts programming and aligning with different partners to try and provide that. Therefore, they're recommending ordinance 2023-65, which determines that the event is a public purpose, suitable for public funding, and moving forward on that agreement. If there's any questions, please let me know.
All right, thanks, Eric. Motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
So moved.
Second. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Okay, anyone opposed? I need a motion to adopt.
Moved?
Second.
Okay, any council discussion?
Mayor.
Yes.
I just want to say we're really excited about this concert. It's our 20-year anniversary of the Veterans Memorial, and this concert is a patriotic-themed concert, so we're very excited about it this year.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, roll call.
Vice Mayor Nelson.
Yes.
Councilmember Chance.
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn. Yes. Councilmember Hackey.
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula.
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth.
Yes. Okay, item 17, ordinance 2023-66. I need a motion to read by title only, please.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Jeff?
Amending Resolution 2023-19, Ordinance 2023-59, and Ordinance 2023-60 for the purposes of clarifying the levying of special assessments in the City of Mason in cooperation with the I-75 Energy Special Improvement District.
Okay, Eric?
Yes, Mayor, this is really a housekeeping measure. At our last council meeting, we adopted a series of ordinances to move forward on PACE programming specific to CM Paula, as well as an opportunity to add this tool to the number of tools we're able to provide businesses that are looking to recruit or expand. Fortunately, our legal counsel, Jeff Forbes, I think noticed that what the ordinance failed to do and the numbers those ordinances failed to do was capture correctly the financing and program costs involved in the special assessments. So out of an abundance of caution, what is before you here is an ordinance that would clarify those amounts in all of those ordinances that were adopted at the last meeting to allow us to continue to move forward on this program for CM Paula. The correct amount in the legislation is about $5.4 million. It is recommended for adoption to allow us to continue to move forward.
Thank you, Eric. I need a motion to suspend the rule and allow for adoption after the first reading.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay, a motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any council discussion? Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes. Sorry.
Mayor Spade?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Okay, item 18, committee reports. Does anybody have a committee report?
Mayor.
I'll go real quick. I sound like a broken record when I say this, but I just appreciate the MAID CDC and Casey Richards getting up and giving us a kind of a detailed explanation with what's going on with the Mason Mile. I know a lot of people ask all the time about what is the Mason Mile, and I always direct them to both the website and the Facebook page, and they've done a really good job of just including all of that information. So when it comes to our downtown committee, that's pretty much is the extent of what we've been talking about. So if anyone out there wants any updates, you can go to the Facebook or masonmileproject.com, I believe is the name of it, or just Google Mason Mile, Mason, Ohio is what I tell people. So I just, again, appreciate all their efforts and the community involvement. It's really cool to see. I forget the stat, but with the feedback that we've got from our community, the folks that are looking at this, they've looked at 600 different downtowns and did the community involvement. We came in number 2 in regards to how much feedback we've got. So really cool to hear. So again, thank you to the CDC for really engaging the public and the community and getting everybody involved. So.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor.
Yes.
We had a mid-year finance committee meeting back in late June. We were taking a look at the 2023 budget and also forward to the 2024 budget. One specific area that we talked about, or item that we talked about, excuse me, was how to put Gould Park on an optimistic path moving forward. We had a special guest with Chrissy Avery. She was there from Parks and Rec, discussing the needs of the existing parks, the parks that we have now, costs to maintain, but also upgrade and keep those up there with kind of the plans that were already in place. And let's see, and then deciding that making the parks and improvements on those existing parks a higher priority for 2024 was on there. So thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a committee report?
Mayor?
Yes.
Well, the Arts Committee met, as you know. We talked about SWAP, which we passed tonight, so thank you everyone for passing that. We also talked about the Mason Symphony Orchestra, about their upcoming concerts, some of the challenges with different locations, and we're just really excited about the Mason Symphony Orchestra as well. And Chris Heim, a resident from in our community, has really stepped up and is working on different avenues for arts promotion within our community. And I just wanted to give him a shout out because he's really done a lot lately. We don't have anything finalized, so I don't want to go into all the details of what he's doing, but if you see Chris, give him a kudos for all the work that he's doing, and I'm sure pretty soon we'll maybe have some legislation on some of it.
Okay, very good. Anyone else? Okay, let's go.
You know what, Mayor? I'm sorry. We had one more committee meeting.
Okay.
We had the Veterans Committee meeting, and We replaced all of the new pavers and are working on the app to get the app updated so the location of all the different bricks can be found. What else? Landscaping will be happening in the fall, and we, at the time, are waiting for the electrician to finish the lighting. We talked about the different requirements for who can get a brick for the Gold Star Memorial. So we're still, I think, maybe ironing out that. And we talked about Memorial Day, not Memorial Day, Veterans Day, the ceremony. We're still working out the details of that ceremony as well.
All right, very good. Anyone else? Okay, I'll move on to item 19, which is old and new business. Yes, Councilmember Hackey.
Thank you, Mayor. Just real quick, wanted to comment on the Red Rhythm and Boom event we just had. I know Eric mentioned it in his report, but just a huge thank you to staff, to everybody involved in making that happen. It's a great event, and what was the estimate? 25 to 30,000. Is that the official estimate now? Amazing that many people are coming out and having a great evening. So I just can't thank staff enough, Incident Command and all the other people involved in making this smooth operation with virtually no incidents whatsoever. So thank you again. It was an awesome night.
Okay, anyone else? Yes.
Here.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Hey, I'd like to thank Don Williams. You know what? I love that information you got up and stood. That's something that I believe we need to hear more of in regards to seeing all the craziness and all the division and everything else going on, to truly understand our heritage and who we are as a community, what's going on, and the pride that we should have in this community. Because, opposed to looking for things to complain about or just not understand how to be neighborly. I love the frame of references that you made about from back in 1950 to 1960. I was going to actually question you because when I graduated in 94, up till like mid 2000s, we graduated with 146 students. And I think in a decade, there were like 700. And I was like, I just couldn't believe the growth. But with that growth, I think I've said this plenty of times, it's not about the people that are sitting up here. It's really, truly about staff and being able to control that growth, being able to balance out between green, between corporate, between residential. And we do. We live in an incredible, incredible city. And so thank you for standing up and just giving us a good, friendly reminder about who we are and why we should be happy to live in the fourth best place, in the country. And so, I know growth can be difficult. I've been here since 1980, and I've seen it. Not quite like the mayor, but it's grown tremendously. So thank you for doing that. And the second part is, I luckily got to see music in Mason the other night. Again, major kudos to Red Rhythm and Boom. Ton of fun, awesome. But the music in Mason is equally just as, it was so much fun. And I'm going to give a shout out to the Zack Attack. I thought that band was absolutely incredible, and I would encourage us to get them here more often. Very entertaining, included the crowd, just a fun atmosphere and event.
I didn't get that.
Whoa.
Could you try again?
Sorry. Zack Attack. I really liked it. So thank you guys again. I know a lot of work, energy, effort. Dan Chambers, that guy's there. He's a rock star along with the bands every single weekend. Just making it just a great place for us to gather on the plaza and just enjoy. Some great live music and watching families have fun. I mean, it's a great time. So thanks to staff and everybody that's really putting that together. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Mayor?
Yes.
Well, I promised to give an update on the operating budget bill. The Ohio House and Ohio Senate passed their final version of Sub-House Bill 33 for fiscal years 2024 and 2025 on June 30th. The bill has subsequently been signed by Governor Mike DeWine on July 3rd, along with 44 line item vetoes that were issued. There were a number of provisions that were passed, but I just pulled out a few that are of interest to Mason. You can always go online and view the entire bill if you would like to see it. So the operating budget bill increased the local government fund from the current 1.66% of the general revenue fund to 1.7%. I know the Ohio Municipal League was really pushing hard to have a higher increase. They didn't get it, but we still did get an increase, so you can't complain. Provides $750 million for the All-American Future Fund to be used for improvements for economic development sites. The fund would prepare the infrastructure and get locations ready to go for the next big development or company coming in. It also includes $700 million for the one-time Strategic Community Investment Fund. Projects eligible to be covered by the fund could include transportation products such as roads, brick and mortar community projects, projects benefiting schools, and other local community projects. The bill allows a municipality to extend the life of a TIF incentive district created prior to 2006 up by 15 years. It exempts property tax from the value of unimproved land subdivided for residential development in excess of the fair market value of the property. It authorizes the Ohio Air Quality Development Authority to enter into agreement with municipal corporations that are SID members to fund property-assessed clean energy projects, and authorizes municipalities to levy special assessments for such projects. I'm not sure if we're a SID member or not, but I found it interesting, so I thought I'd report on it. Okay. It creates a state income tax deduction for amounts contributed to a homeownership savings-linked deposit account. And that is really interesting. You're most likely going to be hearing more about that in print later throughout the year, because it comes into effect, I believe, in 2024. It provides $1 million per fiscal year to be distributed to local governments for projects that include lead hazard control. Provides $40 million for law enforcement training each fiscal year. Requires law enforcement officers to complete 24 hours of continuing professional training each year, and also provides reimbursements for a minimum of 24 hours of training and a maximum of 40 hours of training. It provides grant funding for $7.5 million per fiscal year to fire departments for equipment, gear, and training, and provides funding for training through the state fire marshal. And I know we've just passed a bunch of ordinances regarding different gear and body camera stuff, and they also provide for $5 million for each fiscal year for body-worn camera programs. So we might want to look into that before we spend the money on it, because some of it could be covered. It codifies the Ohio Narcotics Intelligence Center to coordinate law enforcement response to illegal drug activities for state agencies and act as a liaison between the state and the local entities to counter drug policy initiatives. It exempts income of individuals under 18 years of age from municipal income taxation, reduces the amount a municipality can charge in penalties and late municipal income tax filing to a one-time $25 penalty, and waives the fee for first-time failure to file. It limits the circumstances under which a municipal income tax notices may be sent by a municipal income tax administrator to the taxpayer regarding filing extensions. There is a $150 max that the municipality will have to reimburse the taxpayer for costs incurred by the taxpayer to respond to the tax inquiry following a filing extension. I think this one's really important because we get this often, but I've never heard of it coming from Mason, so I don't know if Mason does it, because Mason's great. But there are certain municipalities that don't require you to report an extension. When you file an extension with the federal government, you don't have to file one with the local. You just automatically get it. And some municipalities are sending notices out to them, causing them to incur CPA fees. So this is a good provision that was passed. It adjusts the homestead exemption for inflation each year beginning in 2023 for real property. and provides a $111.5 million fiscal year to continue work on the H2 Ohio initiative, and it funds the H2 Ohio Rivers Initiative. It makes permanent the law that allows liquor permit holders to expand the area it sells alcohol beverages to outdoor areas under certain circumstances, because it expired December 31st, so they permanently extended it. I'm almost done. Provides $1 million to reimburse costs for emergency management and first responders related to the 2024 solar eclipse. Interesting. And it also requires the auditor of state to create training materials for reporting of waste, fraud, abuse, and requires periodic training of elected officials and employees of political subdivisions. So that's what I pulled out, and there is a lot in the budget. So if you want more information, feel free to pull the whole entire bill and read it.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor?
Yes.
Sorry, I have one more thing. So we just got this today on our desks, but during the National League of Cities Small Cities Council, CGI Digital came to talk about the different promotions that they have for videos for different municipalities, and Mason was selected for a free video. And the city staff, and I know Jennifer Heft, has been working really hard on this to get it to come to fruition. And they're going to develop up to 6 professional videos at no charge to the city. And it is intended to showcase the different aspects of the Mason community. The video will be displayed on the city's website beginning tomorrow and promote it throughout the city's established areas. The video, let me see, there'll be an introductory letter that will be sent to Mason businesses, and they will be reaching out to the local business partners over the next few weeks about the opportunity to participate in the program. The 6 different videos are a welcome video, tourism and attractions, healthy living, home and real estate, community organizations, culture of wellness, inclusivity, economic development, and the 4th best community. So I am excited about this. Maybe next meeting we can play a little clip of some of it. But so thank you to the staff for working on that, and I'm excited to see what that turns out to be like. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have anything?
Mayor?
Yes.
Just briefly wanted to follow up with the gentleman who came up and spoke, and I apologize, I missed his name, about the flooding on Snyder and Tylersville, that intersection. Are we aware of that? Was there work, or I didn't even catch whether it was northbound, southbound.
Yeah, I can address that, Mayor. That's okay. The southbound on Snyder Road at Tylersville Road, they just added a new right turn lane. And I actually asked staff about that this morning because I noticed it was ponding water. What's going to happen is in front of the Tower Park development, we're going to mill and resurface Tylersville Road in cooperation with the developer. They're going to reimburse us for their half of the road. We're also doing that through that intersection, including that north of Tylersville on Snyder up to the Drug Mart driveway. And so that milling needs to occur from the center line of the road over to the new curb, and that'll take care of that flooding. So right now, there's not a surface course on that pavement, and that's why you're seeing that flooding. And once we regrade the road with the new asphalt, it'll go away. So
awesome, thank you.
it should be later this summer. I don't have exact timing on when we're going to do that milling and paving work yet, but
Great.
should be within the next few months taken care of. So
Appreciate it, thank you.
All right, thanks. Anything else? Okay, I just want to mention in our packet, we had a memo about the finance department getting the AAA, well, you want to do it? No. Getting the AAA rating again, and we've been getting that now since, what year was that?
Say 2010.
2010. It's the highest rating that the Moody's Investor
That's as high as you can go.
gives, and it has to do with regulation. Well, you want to tell what it has to do with, just briefly?
It's basically the city's credit rating, and so we're judged on all kinds of levels of our financial, capacity. So everything from debt limit to revenue sources to management of finances. It means we're an excellent credit risk, which ultimately translates into cost savings for residents, because when we have to borrow money, we're very competitive and get a very low interest rate.
Thank you. And so congratulations to Joe and his team, his finance department team. We're always very proud of them. And just real briefly, I just want to say thank you again with Red Rhythm and Boom. It was awesome. I had a lot of people giving me compliments. And really got to emphasize our incident command team, which this year was led by Sergeant Jamie Van Wagner and up-and-coming Steve Harkey for next year. Because I don't think the community realizes what it takes for this team to put this together and run it during the entire time to make sure we all have a great time and we are safe. So thank you again. Yes.
I was just going to add to that, we plan on at our next council meeting that we'll be passing the torch so that we think that Officer Van Wagner, or Sergeant Van Wagner did a decent enough job that we'll let her stand to the side next year, and Steve Hartkey will then carry the torch forward.
Okay.
But we'll do that at our next meeting.
That'll be awesome. Okay, on to item 20, recognition of visitors. Don, did you want to come back up? No? I did want to say you kind of outed me on my age, but that's okay. I admitted to it, so. I really did love, though, the recall of everything that has happened with all the festivals. Thank you again for doing that. Okay, item 21, executive session. I need a motion to adjourn into executive session for the purpose of discussing acquisition, disposition of property, and employment compensation of public employees.
So moved.
Okay, roll call.
Councilmember Bradburn?
Yes.
Councilmember Hackey?
Yes.
Councilmember Stricula?
Yes.
Mayor Spaeth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Nelson?
Yes.
Councilmember Chance?
Yes.
All right.
Good night, Don.
Good night.